Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to take a look at the Sansui 8080. This one showed up locally and the complaint is it just doesn't quite sound as good as they remember it sounding. We'll see what is up with that. I haven't listened to this thing yet, so we're going to take a quick deep dive in here and see what's going on. I'll give you a closer look right now in this beautiful light we've got here in Montana today. Ah, the 8080. It is massive. This is my first time seeing one in person, and surprised at how big it is, but also surprised at how few buttons there are. There really aren't that many things going on here for an 80 watt per channel receiver. And we've got power buttons, speakers, your typical filters, bass, mid, treble, muting, and not much fancy stuff over here. I mean, you've got a selector, of course, tuning knob, Dolby 4-channel adapter, which no one's using, and then your tape monitor stuff. That's about it. No fancy stuff. So very simple, very easy to use. This one is in excellent condition. It could use a little bit nicer of a cleaning. I can see this in person. It might not come through too well on the camera, but that's a little dirty. We'll make sure that gets cleaned up real nice. And other than that, very good cosmetic condition. I don't see any scratches anywhere. Of course, I'll be robbing you all of a staple of this channel, Sadie. What are you doing? What do you see out there? You having a good day? I think she's having a great day. She loves being out here. Anyways, continuing our look. This receiver has passed. So that's definitely a good thing. Looks like we got some stuff there. That's no fun. Looks like somebody wrote something. That doesn't look like accidental scratches. Sansuis are kind of interesting. There's two very Sansui things back here that I've always found very interesting. One is the fact that the output transistors are actually mounted kind of to the chassis. Like if you look through there real close, I don't know if it's going to come through, you can see the output transistors in there. They're not on a heatsink inside of the unit. And then also what I think is weird is you have your red lines on the inside. So those are your, quote, I'm going to use AC terms here, it's going to sound abysmal, but I'm going to say you've got your hot ones right here, right next to one another, whereas like ground, that's all the same. So that's why I think most manufacturers, they'll put the grounds in the middle, because if these two wires touch one another, it's fine, it's the same. But if these two touch, you know, you might get mono sound or something. So that's kind of, I've always thought that was kind of interesting on Sansui's end, but you know, they make good stuff. I shouldn't question it too much. And of course this side is okay. It is the 120 volt model for this country. And what do you think of that, Sadie? Does Sadie prefer 240 volt, 208 volt, or 120? I don't think she cares. And of course, we've all seen it, but caution, don't take hold of the ferrite bar antenna to lift this amplifier. Yeah, this thing is heavy. I would not do that at all. You'll break it immediately. And as you can see, we've got our brand new folding table for the deck here, and it gets to a height that's kind of reasonable, so I can get cool shots like this. I might throw this in as a thumbnail. Just take this screenshot because that's beautiful. Very nice. The other thing that would make it better is if we had her in it also. We'll see if I can make that happen. Hey, you want to go on an adventure? You want to go on an adventure? Alright. Now take a seat. You're going to give us an excellent thumbnail opportunity? Maybe not. She's actually never been on the railing before. She's a little too skittish to get up there and jump on her own, so I'm going to put this down and handle that. Let's get you down. Alright, let's go. That's enough. You can jump. You can do it. I know you can. There you go. Good job. Alright, let's get this cover off. I mean, the main reason we've got this table here is so I can actually do a little bit of workout here. Not too much, though. Nope. Don't want to lose these things. Maybe one day when I have a very straightforward repair to do, I'll do the entire thing out here. But for now, I'm happy just doing it right here. Oh, hey.
Am I gonna ruin things?
No. Okay. I'll edit this part out. This table is killer. it makes it so like you get the greatest thumbnail ever. All right, what do we got here? Oh, would you look at that? It is quite clean in here, gotta say. That is a big transformer. Wow. A little bit of dust. I mean, would you look at that? That is a huge transformer for what this thing is. And it even says Sansui right on it. Perfect. I like that font. That's pretty cool. You don't normally see that on a transformer. I would guess that this one here has to do with the tuner. I mean, I'm looking for the power amp board right now. I don't see it. I mean, you know, like I said, your output transistors are down in here. So where is the power amp board? I see those wires going underneath. You can see it like right there, right there. I'll bet you the power amp board lives somewhere underneath all this, so we'll have to get this thing on its side to look at that. Sure, let's give that a shot real quick. And when you're flipping receivers, it's always nice to know where the transformer is. Like, I don't want to flip this way, I want to flip this way because the weight is down lower and that saves you from having a bad time or any worse of a time than you need to. I'll set that down. Let's start pulling these off here. Okay. Alright, what do we got here? More screws. How could I miss that? Those ones are interesting. They've got a little cutout in the cover right here, so you only need to loosen those. You don't need to completely remove them. Okay. Interesting. I see now. There was a cover over the top, keeping me from being able to see the power amplifier. But now that I'm in here, you know, there's a lot more going on than I thought. What are you guys yelling about? What's going on? Someone they don't like is around, probably. That happens all the time. There's plenty of weird birds out here. The way Sansui packages things always fascinates me. Like these filter caps, you know, on most receivers you see them standing straight up and very prominent. These are side mounted and hidden underneath the bottom cover. So that's kind of interesting, gotta say. And then the power amp mystery, you can see our output transistor wires are going into this board. So this is a power amp board, but I couldn't see like what was going on because there's a cover over the board. So we'll get to look at that sooner or later here. And of course under here you've got your tone amplifiers. I see a lot of orange capacitors that are known to get leaky or fail over time, so that could be an issue. We're not sure yet. And of course we're moving through the 70s. This is a mid-70s model, but you see stuff like this, which makes my life very easy. That is a connector that you can just unplug instead of desoldering a bunch of wires. So Sansui was always up to speed with that sort of thing. I think we've done about all we can out here, so let's bring this thing inside and get it hooked up to some speakers and take a listen, see if it sounds okay. Alright, I've temporarily put the bottom cover back on because the feet of this receiver are integrated into the bottom cover. So we are on the dim bulb. Looks like you can see it. I will hit the power button and we'll see what happens. That's good so far. The relay clicked and the protection light was blinking when it was going there. No lights here, but they come once you turn on the tuner and go away when you go back to phono. It's kind of disappointing in my opinion. All the other receivers I work on, this is on all the time. So, I don't know. I would want it on all the time. I think it looks really cool. I get they were probably going for more of a simplified look, so they only leave the power meters on, because you know you don't need this when you're running aux, obviously. If this were mine, I'd probably find a way to make it so this just doesn't happen and just have this on all the time. Oh well. Let's check the speaker outputs for DC. Our volume is down. Here's our left channel. 37 is fine. And 27 is fine. If it were above like 175, I don't know, depends on how I'm feeling, I would probably try to do a DC offset adjustment before connecting a speaker. But 30 and 20 is fine. Let's connect those speakers. Yep, it's definitely working because we hear the very dirty controls, like really dirty controls. Let's see if the radio works. One channel works. Where's our balance knob? Oh, it's integrated. Alright, so we have no AM out of the left channel. We do have some FM out of the left. So like, there's so that's the right channel. FM works, but it does not work in left channel. But I can barely hear it, which means it's not in the tuner. It's probably in the preamp or power amp somewhere, or a dirty switch. Oh, there it is. It's in the Dolby NR 4-channel adapter switch. So that switch is dirty, and that gives us FM out of both channels. So honestly, I should just stop right now and just clean the controls immediately before I do anything else at all. And that might be what I do, because it's been a little while since you watched the intro. It's a little later now. I should have done this demonstration from this view. Like, see? It just turns off. And it turns on when you have the radio on, but off when you do phono or aux. And in terms of sound, to me, well, the loudness is off. It sounds fine to me. Okay, we are back, and my supervisor is in town tonight, so we got to make sure we're on our best and safest behavior. So I'm gonna try to determine if I can get these controls cleaned without taking off the faceplates. The way you do that is, well, one, you look up top and you notice that you can't see the push button switches from up here. So what we have to do is, well, one, unplug the receiver because we're being safe, and two, take that bottom cover off. I am nearly certain we're going to be able to get the potentiometers and these two toggle switches, but these push buttons I'm not quite sure just yet, and my memory's not quite good enough from when we had it off earlier. Slides right out. Yep, what a pain. So it's actually going to be fairly difficult and inconvenient to clean these controls. So what needs to happen is we need to flip all these boards out, because all these potentiometers, they're soldered right to these circuit boards right here. Yeah, it's not looking so good under here. It looks like all these potentiometers are directly soldered to these circuit boards down here, which is not always the case. Sometimes they're just chassis mounted at the shaft and then they're exposed. But in this case, they appear to be also circuit board mount. So good for manufacturing, but bad for us in this specific situation. They could have made it so these boards sit the other way around, so these potentiometers are exposed. But we're going to have to take off the faceplate, get these boards loose, and then flip them up, and then that's going to expose the push button switches. And as we saw earlier, this Dolby NR 4-channel adapter switch is what's causing our issues in FM. Honestly, that's okay, because this faceplate is it's not that it's dirty, it's that it's extremely poorly cleaned, and it really needs to come off to get a proper cleaning. So I'm not terribly disappointed. So yeah, let's get to work. Let's pull all these knobs off and figure out how we get this faceplate off. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Pretty standard for this stuff. So now we get to look at what I was talking about earlier. We've got to separate these boards and kind of turn them out so we can get to them. And now, let's start with this board here. This is going to house our two toggle switches and our volume and balance control. It appears the way we'll get this free is we'll need to undo this nut, and we've got some screws right here. And that should get them off. And it looks like we've got some wires that are kind of going between the two. I'll show you right here. There's some wires going between these boards right here, so we're going to want to do these both at the same time. So that means we need to get this large nut, and this is like this, so that the faceplate has something to bottom out on, like this face right here. I like these because then I can just grab them with anything and just make it happen. Then we'll have these two, and then I'm not sure if we'll need to take out that one, but we'll see. You all done with your shift? Thanks for checking. You need help with that? Hodor is comically bad at opening doors. Yeah, he's just like, hey guys, you want to help me? You want to leave? You want to go? Okay. There you go. Bye-bye. So yeah, continuing on here. I can use this adjustable wrench here because it's not a faceplate. I just need to not scratch the meters, right? I think I can do that. And I do have deep sockets, but I don't have a 3/8 ratchet to drive them with right now, so we're just gonna do this. You always gotta be real careful with this part because you don't know what you might be tugging on that you shouldn't be. Oh, I see. For this one, we have a capacitor that was running into the main filter. Okay, well we have this one loose, at least. Let's see if we can clear this one, though. This one's giving us a little bit of trouble. Okay, looks like this shield was giving us a little bit of grief, but it's out of the way now. Okay, so we have these two boards flipped over, and this is all preamp looking stuff. But now we have excellent access to the boards that hold these, and I'll show you that. See, now that we've got these flipped over, the 3 push buttons here and 2 right there, they're just on little circuit boards. I think if we take out screws here and here, that should do it. That's why you buy a magnetic tip screwdriver right there. Okay. Yep, these are very loose. They just come right out. We can even get them out, stick it up high like this. So I think now, yeah, look at this one. We are pretty much ready to clean these controls. All we got to do is get some D5 right here, and that'll do it. But while we're down here, we need to acknowledge that this is the speaker switch, and the speaker switch is an extremely important one to have clean. So in order to get cleaner on that, I think it'd be best to take this board out just like we did the others, which you do that with this large interesting nut right here. We have 2 screws back here, and we will probably need to loosen the headphone jack. Yep, that was pretty simple. There's our speaker relay. We have this that was on something. Oh, looks like it taped the looks like this was taping this capacitor to this relay. I don't know why you would do that. I don't know why you wouldn't just have that capacitor sitting flat on the board. It's interesting. They very specifically want this capacitor sitting above the board. I don't know if I can show that, but it looks like I can right here. That's kind of goofy, don't you think? They specifically put like insulator right there, so you could have this flopping around, and they taped this around the relay. There's got to be a good reason for that. It seems like a very weird thing to do. There must be a good reason around it. As I visually inspect in here, I don't see any capacitors that look bad per se. I know these orange ones have a bad reputation for becoming leaky. We don't really know what's going wrong with this thing right now, and we're not going to know until we actually start testing it. So we know it makes sound, and that's good, but we also know, most importantly, that these switches are dirty because certain things aren't working due to a dirty switch, and we discovered that because we jiggled around some switches and saw changes in behavior. So like I've said in previous videos, you really can't do any repair work until you've cleaned these controls. So that's what we're going to do right now. Like I've said in the past, we're going to use deoxide D5 on switches like this, which have just metal on metal contacts, these push button switches. But these potentiometers, we want to use this F5. And we'll just go ahead and do that right now. Alright, we've got them all cleaned up here. You may have seen me kind of tilting this thing and allowing the drips to kind of drip onto certain controls because this nozzle is such a piece of crap. Yeah, not a fan of that nozzle. I much prefer this style, and I'm not the only one. So let's work on getting these back in the receiver. And I guess it's kind of an unfortunate thing about this. This is really not any good way to run this thing with these guys all loose like this, which would be nice because then I'd know if I need to go back and redo something, but I don't get that luxury. I need to put it back together and then test it, which is, you know, proper. That's how you're supposed to do it, but I like to get away with doing it the easier way sometimes. Like that Pioneer SA900 that we had on the channel last. I didn't need to remove the faceplate at all for that thing. I just cleaned the controls as they were because they were all exposed when you took off the bottom cover. This thing is not like that. Okay, now that we're back together, let's give this another try. I have the faceplate over here so I can look at it and see what is what. We'll be volume down. I think our speakers are okay. Now the speakers are off, so we'll turn that on. Dim bulb, relay, selector. Or no, that was speakers. This is selector. Okay, that's what it was. It was the FM muting off button, of course. We've got our Christian rock.
Activate this offer starting June 20th. So
okay.
You scored. Shop.
So yeah, now we
to earn those
definitely have
Not a Milo's rewards
FM
member?
out of both
Join
sides.
for free today.
So we've
Visit
got the right side,
for more details.
and we've got the left side.
Progressive, we know it's part of the
So that's working now. How about we listen to everybody's favorite song and see how that is sounding now? And how do we get there? We do that, and then we go volume up. Which one is loudness? There's loudness. Mono, stereo. I mean, to me it already sounds better than it used to. That sounds right. That sounds nice. When I play the music at this volume, you can kind of see the dim bulb getting brighter and dimmer with the music. I'll focus in on that. So then I'll turn it up. Kind of cool. There's something about it with that clear bulb where you can see the entire filament. Or like when I go volume all the way down, you see it's still lit just a little bit because this is a larger amplifier and it's pulling some significant amount of current just sitting here doing nothing, which is kind of neat. So I think we should check the bias and DC offset, set those, and then run some sine waves and stuff through this thing at different frequencies and see just how it behaves. See if we have an issue like last time. I've been jamming for a minute here. Before I forget, I already forgot to clean the selector switch when I was cleaning the controls, so we must do that. That's going to be absolutely necessary. And I just wanted to point out, we've been listening to FM with no antenna. I do not have an antenna hooked up, and it's picking up pretty much all the stations out here, so that's always a really good sign when a piece of equipment is able to pick up stations without an antenna. Means the radio is working very well. So let's get this thing on its feet. And the selector switch is actually back here. This is starting in the era where they used like big long shafts to get to switches they located in the back. So like you can see right in there, that's your selector switch, and you can't quite see the shafts. You probably saw them in a previous angle, but yeah, that's what's going on there. So what I like to do with that is I take the actual knob itself, just put it on in some way, and then that allows me to move it really easily. The selector switch back here, do that a little bit, and then we also have the tape monitor switch. I think that's this one. The last thing I would like to do is just remove this cover that's going over the power amplifier board that we still haven't seen yet. And just make sure there's nothing visually bad going on down there. If all looks good, we'll just move right into setting the DC offset, the bias, and yeah. And it was worth our time to remove this because all of our potentiometers for adjusting things are right here anyways. Let's take a look inside at this one together. As you can see, there's our 4 pots right up top here. I'm sure these two and these two do the same thing on their respective channels. Oh, this is one of those, yeah, Sansui likes to do this. They like to do the, here, watch this. I should be able to just pull this right out. Yep. This is the power amplifier module. That's how they did it. So we can actually get a very, very nice close look at this. And everything looks fine. Yeah, everything on here looks just fine. I see no issues. I talked a lot with the camera zoomed in too far. I put the deoxit through that little connector right there. I just kind of moved this around a little bit to make sure that the contacts are getting cleaned, and then I wiped off the board. But then as I was looking at this board, I recalled an X-Ray 20B video I just watched where he was working on Sansui equipment of a similar vintage, and it had like these weird fusible resistors in it. And I think I see some of those on here. You see, we've got our carbon films right here, these brown ones. But then we've got these blue ones that look kind of like a modern metal oxide. I want to check the value on all, let's see, I think I see 10 of them on this board. Because what I saw in his video was all of these resistors had failed on a certain board in the gear he was looking at. So if that's what's going on here, if we see major drift in some of the values of these resistors, we're going to need to get those replaced while this is out like this. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that right now. So let me get my chart out because I don't have this memorized. We've got a yellow, purple, brown? I don't know. Yellow purple is 47, and then brown is times 10, so this should be a 470. Oh, you know what it is? It's gold. Yeah, that's gold. And gold is a 0.1 multiplier, 5% tolerance. So 5% of 4.7 is, I think that is less, actually. So yeah, 4.7 times 1.05 is 4.93, and we're at a solid 5.1, so this one has drifted nearly outside of its original spec. Now we've got red, red, black, which is 22 ohms, and that one's fine. Maybe. Let's see. 22 times 1.05. What does that equal? Yeah, if this were out, it'd be 23. And it's not. Okay, looks like we've got another 4.7 here. And this one's 4.7. That's great. Now we've got a brown, black, black. So a 10 ohm? Yes, a 10 ohm. And then an orange, white, brown. 39 times 10 is 390. Yep, so those are 390. Okay, so then on the other side, they're going to be the same values. We got a 390 as a 383. That's okay. Maybe. And this one is our 10, that's okay. This is a 4.7, it's a 4.8, that's fine. The other 4.7 is a 4.8, that's fine. And then the 22 is a 22.5. So we did find one that is out of spec. So I guess I'll replace it. Well, turns out I don't have a 4.7 out of this kit that I bought that's supposed to have everything, but whatever. Yeah, if I had a 4.7 quarter watt, I would replace it, but I don't. So back in it goes. There's that. Okay, now we need to pull up the service manual and figure out how we set the bias and DC offset. Okay, so DC offset is pretty simple. According to the service manual, those pots are right here in the middle. And it's like anything else, you just turn the pot until it says 0 millivolts. So we are attached to the left channel right now. That means we need to turn this one for the left channel. And if we do, we get a little spike as we turn it, but it does go down. Let's see, I went a little too far. I'm going to call that okay right there because it's very finicky. So now, let's take this and move over to the right channel where we've got, honestly it's pretty good, you know, but we'll bring her into, wow, I did great, excellent. Now for measuring bias, it's a little bit interesting because they give it to you in milliamps. So what I did is I did what the service manual said. I took out the fuse, I put my multimeter across the fuse, like so, and that's the current that I have. Now it says Model A should have 50 milliamps and Model B should have 30 milliamps. What does that mean? Well, the Sansui 8080 and 9090 are very similar, and that's what models A and B are, and I don't know why you would have a different bias on either of those, but people are saying between like 30 and 50 milliamps is like what they're putting them at on Audio Karma. So I see that we're at 36 on the left channel. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it on the other channel. We'll just watch that kind of go to nothing here, just like that. And now we'll be able to take out the other fuse safely. So now let's check the right channel. Let's see where the right channel's at versus the left. It's basically exactly the same. Kind of interesting that we're in protection mode when that happens. I don't remember if we clicked out of it before when we had the fuse in the other one, but they're the same. So honestly, I think I'm just going to leave all that alone. I don't think I'm going to touch it. But I will put these fuses back in. Fuck. Shit. And that's why you be more careful, folks. Hopefully that didn't fry anything. Should discharge the capacitors. That kind of welded the fuse a little bit. As I just say careful, my microphone almost catches the tuner string. A lot of things just went potentially very wrong all at once. Okay, since that happened, let's just go on dim bulb real quick and make sure nothing is catastrophically damaged. Looks like it's not. Yeah, I think we are just fine. But yeah, just what happened was I dropped the fuse on top of the fuse next to it. This one right here. So like that the middle right one is one I was putting in, and I dropped it on top of the one next to it, and that caused that little spark there and left that little weld mark on the outside of that fuse. So yeah, just be careful. We're lucky that it didn't end up being anything bad. So but the bias on this amp is the same on each channel, and it's within that range that the service manual talks about. So that means to me that I'm ready to test this receiver, put the load resistors on the back and see what we're making for power and see what the waveforms look like on the oscilloscope. So I say we go ahead and do that. Alright, after a little bit later, we're finally ready to measure the power. So I will start the tone generator app, and while I'm getting that ready, I'll tell you a story. I went to go bring the volume up, and I had the scope and stuff connected to the left channel, and then this happened. This is a blown fuse. It's a fuse that's on the driver board, and I don't know what happened, but I must have had some wires crossed somehow on this thing, and it must have popped this fuse and caused a short. So that's another thing you'll find a lot on Sansuis, is there's fuses everywhere, and they can save you, I guess, in situations like this. Like this thing went bad and something else didn't, and I have a fuse, cost me a few cents, and I'm back in business after I replaced that fuse. So anyways, we're here now. I think the volume is up all the way on there. Yep, so let's bring it on. Oh, we're not triggering. We need to tell it we want channel 2. How do you do it? Yeah, there we go. Anyways, alright, let's bring it on. What do we got here? Do we need to come down? Alright, so we're up there, Let's bring this down until we don't see clipping. We're slightly asymmetrical. It's kind of interesting. It happens pretty quickly down there, but we'll just take a look at that waveform, and we'll call that about 27.5 on the left channel. What does that convert to? Yeah, this 27.5 volts you see right here, that right there, yep, 7.5 converts to 94 watts per channel. I think we're doing just fine on the left channel. Let's switch our equipment to the right channel real quick. Okay, that's right channel hooked up now. What do we get out of the right? We get the exact same thing. About 27.5. So that's awesome. I like that a lot. Now let's have some fun and do some different frequencies. Let's do 15,000 hertz. So 15 kilohertz. So you see we gotta change our time per division here. And when do we see clipping there? We see clipping at about 13 volts, which is about half of what's happening at 1 kilohertz. So I don't know if that's normal or not, but it's clipping how I would expect it to. Now let's switch it to 20. So this is 20 hertz coming up here. We'll have to shift this way down. And yeah, so you get some funny clipping there. But if we bring it in, we're making full power at 20 hertz, so that's pretty good. If you ask me, this thing is working great, and it's working as intended. And I don't really know what else to do. So the complaint with this one was it just didn't quite sound as good as they remembered it sounding. And they also mentioned that somebody may have worked on this in the past. I see no signs of anybody ever working on this unless they replaced the fuse lamps, which that is it's not exactly obvious if they've been there to do that, since it's a pretty simple job. And it sounds good to me. So at this point, all that's left to do is clean the faceplate, clean the knobs, and make this thing look real nice and pretty once again. I think I'll do that tomorrow, and I'll just close out this video right now and with some B-roll of me cleaning it and kind of a final look at this thing. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this brief video. Wasn't very exciting, I know, but I'm sure we'll have some more exciting videos in the future. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.